everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Candid Kaya. Today, I am here with Antonia, and she's going to be telling you all more about brand management. So, if you're interested in marketing as a career track, well, this interview is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, Antonia. Thank you so much for joining today's episode. And let's start with you just telling the viewers about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you, Nakaya, for having me. I'm really excited to be here to chat with you just a little bit about myself and what I do. I'm looking forward to this conversation today. Like she said, my name is Antonia Collins. I am a brand manager at Eli Lilly, so a brand manager in the pharmaceutical space. I am originally from Gary, Indiana. That's where I grew up. That's where I was raised. I went to Purdue for undergrad, so majored in management and marketing and undergrad, and then started actually working at Lilly right after undergrad, also in marketing. So I was there for 4 years before going back to business school, where I went to Indiana University Kelley School of Business. So I just graduated from business school this past May, so coming up on a year, which is crazy to think about. And I'm currently in an associate brand manager role at Lilly. So slightly different from what I was doing before business school, but all in the same marketing space. So excited to be here and chat a little bit more today.
Yes, thank you. And just a side note for everyone viewing, me and Antonia both had an internship with a really big CPG company last summer, or 2 summers ago, basically. So that's how we know each other and through business school activities, of course. So that's a little background history. Well, let's just jump right into it. So I know a lot of people are not familiar with the term brand management, which is so interesting because in the marketing world, we hear it used so often.
Mhm.
Can you just first start off just telling everyone what that is?
Mhm. So I think a very, and this is of course a very boiled down version of what the definition is, but to me, I define brand management as simply being the person who is in charge of running this brand. So if you think of any brand that you use in your home every day, products that you use, so that could be like personal care products or even food products or whatever you use every day, there's somebody behind the scenes, someone like me, who's basically doing all of the work to make sure that this brand functions like a business basically. So they're the person who is thinking about things like, okay, where are people purchasing my products? How much are they paying for my products? What do they think when they say the name of my brand? What is the name of my brand? So I think all of those things are really boiled down into a person or a team's job to really make sure that that brand, whatever it may be, is functioning and running essentially like a business, and you want it to be successful like a business. So that's basically what I do. There's definitely some nuances when it comes to pharmaceuticals versus consumer packaged goods, but at the end of the day, the role is essentially pretty much the same.
Okay. Thanks for that definition. And then just tell us, you mentioned CPG and pharmaceuticals, but where else might you find a brand manager?
Mhm. Yeah, so really, I mean, you can find brand managers almost anywhere, and they may go by different titles. So you can hear things like for example, a product manager, which is not the exact same as a brand manager, but in places like tech. So if you think about like Google or Microsoft or companies like that, you generally hear more product managers, where they're the people who are essentially, instead of owning like a brand, they essentially run their product like a business. So it's essentially somewhat the same, but a little bit different in terms of how that's actually executed. But I would say like you can find brand managers really just about any product that will be facing someone, whether that's a consumer, whether that's like a particular customer. You generally have someone who's a brand manager behind the scenes working on it.
So, as a brand manager, just tell us a little bit about the challenges.
Yeah. So, a brand manager job, I'd say, can definitely be tough, right? So, I think regardless of industry, you as a brand manager are most likely working with a ton of cross functional partners. Like, you aren't doing these things, any of your work, you're not doing it by yourself and you're not doing it in a silo. So, I think that that can be one of the more challenging pieces, is because you do have to get so many people and so many people with different priorities sometimes on the same page with you, and oftentimes you're doing that, like you're trying to influence without having authority. So So, like in my day to day role, I don't have anyone that directly reports to me. So I guess technically have no like formal authority in terms of people reporting into me, but I work across with a ton of different people who I have to essentially communicate with and get them on board with what I kind of need to do in order to get our brand to where we want it to be. So I think that can be one of the more challenging pieces is you just have a lot of different people looking at things from their own vantage points, and it as a brand manager it's your job to get everyone aligned, everyone on the same page, and to keep everyone moving to the beat of the same drum. And that in and of itself can come with quite a few challenges. But I think on the flip side of that, it's also one of the things that can be cool about the job, and one of the big developmental opportunities that can come with this type of role is you do have to have so much influence, and you don't necessarily always have formal authority. So I think when I'm looking at just like my development over time, I think the ability to do that effectively will only increase as time goes on. And I think that's a really important thing as someone, you know, looking to move up in their career. Having that skill set, I think, is a really important one to have.
Agreed. Okay. So, in your opinion, Antonia, how important is it to have an advanced degree or at least a business degree if you wanted to pursue brand management?
Yeah. You know, honestly, I think it kind of depends on how you're entering in. So if you are someone like me who maybe had an undergrad degree in, you know, management, marketing, whatever, then I do think you can get into associate brand manager roles by just having them. But obviously that depends on the company that you're in, the industry that you're in. Like it all kind of can be dependent on that. But I do think that you can make your way up coming in through that route. Now, if you're maybe someone who is interested in or who was interested in something else before and now you want to make the career switch into brand management, that's when I do think an MBA is most likely your best bet to make that type of transition. And I think the MBA can help because it not only can get you in touch with different companies that you might be interested in, but it can also just give you that network. It can give you just that experience. It can give you just I think all of the things that you would need to be successful as someone pivoting from, you know, career X into a brand manager role. So at the end of the day, I do think it can just depend on how you're entering in, but for a lot of people, I think the MBA is like their opportunity to make that type of switch into brand management.
Okay. And just speaking of brand management again, as we have this whole interview, just tell us a little bit about what the trajectory and growth looks like for someone at your level or coming in as a brand manager.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I think that you can have lots of upward trajectory as a brand manager. And I think it really comes down to the fact that the work that I do, that people in similar roles to me do every day, you essentially are running a business, and your business is that brand, and you work with other people to make that happen. So I think at the end of the day, if that's like really the core of what you're doing, when you think about becoming a leader, so if that's a brand leader, if that's more of a general management type of leader, if that's a marketing leader, I think that you get all of that experience to be able to do those types of roles from this associate brand manager, brand manager type of space. But then I think you also have the opportunity, say, if corporate America isn't for you and you just feel like that's not really where you want to spend your entire career, which is a ton of people are in that mindset. I think you're set up very well for entrepreneurship if that's something that you're interested in, if you have brand manager experience, because it's essentially, again, you are running your own business. You're understanding who your consumer, who your customer is, what are their needs, and how do you match up what you have with their needs. And if you're an entrepreneur and you have, you know, a product or a service or whatever that you're looking to offer people, then I think having that type of skill set in terms of how you think about problems, how you break problems down that you get from an associate brand manager role, I think you're set up very well for success in, you know, doing your own thing. But I also think if staying in some sort of corporate environment is what you also want to do, I think that you have pretty good upward trajectory in terms of being in those, you know, C-suite leadership roles if that's what you choose to do.
All right, Antonia. So now we've entered the advice section. And my first question is going to be, what advice do you have for someone interested in marketing or a student who's pursuing marketing, but is just not sure which route of marketing they should take, whether it's communications, PR, or advertising? What would be
Yeah.
your
Yeah. And I mean, I think you bring up a good point. There's so many different things that you could do. So I think to help like filter through those options, I would say there's two things that you can do to help with that. So first, I would say reach out to people. So that can be through LinkedIn, that can be through your social circles, that can be through, whatever networks you're a part of. I would say find people that are doing something that you think you might be interested in and ask them to have a conversation. I used LinkedIn in undergrad, I used it in business school, and it would just be sometimes a quick message to a stranger like, "Hey, I'm interested. Do you mind having a 30-minute conversation?" And most of the time people are willing to talk to you. So I would say that would be my first piece of advice. And then the second piece would be to get experience in the spaces that you think you may be interested in pursuing. So if that's communications, maybe there's an opportunity to work on a communications plan, or maybe there's an opportunity to do some projects with your communications team, or whatever that may be. I would just say try to find opportunities to get your feet wet in terms of doing the work that you think you may be interested in doing. And I feel like the combination of both of those things will really help to set you up for success in that moment when you're exploring, and then longer term once you've actually made the decision of whether or not that's what you want to pursue.
Well, Antonia, I do have one last advice question for you. And that is, let's say, for anyone who's now interested in brand management after watching this interview and hearing your words, what advice would you have for them if they're more, let's say, early to mid career?
Mhm. Yeah, so I think the advice honestly would be very similar. I'd say there's probably one additional thing you can do, but those first two things of reaching out to people, and this is assuming that you're early to mid career, so you're already working somewhere. You may or may have an undergrad degree. So I would say reach out to people in those circles that you have. So that could be at your company, that could be people through your alumni network, through your LinkedIn network, whatever that is. I would say just really tap into those circles that you have and reach out to people and ask to have a conversation. Ask them the hard questions that you still have. Ask them the things that you really want to know. I would highly, highly encourage you to just utilize your networks to do that. I think the second piece would be to see what experience you can get. And if you're early to mid career, again, that means you're working somewhere. So that obviously may require you to navigate that a little differently, or, just navigate that how you best see fit. But I think there could be an opportunity for you to, see what projects you can do, take on extra at work that may be in that field of brand management, or even if you can like, hey, can I just sit in this meeting and just listen to the conversation? Or hey, can I, tag along to this workshop? Or, whatever those things are. I think it would require you to advocate for yourself and to really ask for some things that might feel a little uncomfortable to ask for. But I would say, utilize your mentors and those who have helped you along your career so far to help you figure out how you can do that best. But I think it's a great opportunity for you to just see what extra things you can be a part of to help you learn more about that career. And then I'd say the third thing that probably would be a big thing that many people have done is, see what the possibility of an MBA looks like for you. If you are interested in switching careers, I think business school is a great place to do that. I'd say most people in business school are in that same boat where they're looking to go from something to something else. So I would say look at, just explore what options are out there in terms of business school. There's organizations like the Consortium, like Forte, National Black MBA that you can tap into if you feel like any of those would be a good fit for you. But I would just say business school can be a really, really, really great opportunity to make that type of career switch if that can fit into your plans.
Perfect. Well, y'all got some great advice from
I hope so.
Antonia. Okay. Well, Antonia, that concludes our interview. And I always do have this tradition, though, and it's to finish my sentence, which really serves as my last question.
Yep.
Put you on the spot, girl. You ready?
Okay. We'll see.
Okay. As a brand manager, I hope to.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. As a brand manager, I hope to bring my authentic self to my job every day. And I hope to make an impact wherever I am and really make a way for other young Black marketers to come after me.
Period. Great. That's a great answer. Y'all see how she did that right there on the spot. That might be my favorite one so far. I'm not even lying.
Yes, I'll take it. I will take it.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Antonia, for your awesome advice and congratulations on your awesome job that
Thank
you now have post business school. That's really exciting, and we're looking forward to seeing the great things you'll do. Can you just tell everyone how they can keep up with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. So I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as Antonia Collins, and I'm on Instagram at Antonia Lee. So ANTONIALEIGH, one word. So follow me.
Sure. Follow her, and I'll make sure to put her information below. If you guys have any questions for Antonia or myself, please just leave them below and we'll make sure they get answered. Again, thank you guys for joining my first interview of the new year, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.